at 5:30 p.m. So call the meeting. Gary, can you take the roll?
Scott Fishel,
Here.
Dennis Keeney,
Here.
Denise Brewster,
Here.
Brenda Grassi,
Here.
Lori Krenisky.
Here.
And stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First reading of
This is a second first reading of policy 7421 that came out of the policy committee to make an adjustment to a definition of family facility.
and this is required by Ohio law.
This is a policy that's required by Ohio law. In speaking, there were some questions about the way that it reads. So we worked with our legal and made a change to the definition to take the word family out of restroom in the definition of family facility.
So how does that solve the question that I had regarding the use of construction dollars for single-use bathrooms?
Those single-use bathrooms are technically defined as family facilities, even though families wouldn't use it, they meet the definition of a family facility because they will have one toilet or shower, in this case just one toilet.
And so we're going to designate family restrooms in our classrooms.
There, by definition, we have family restrooms in all of our classrooms that have single restrooms. We have family restrooms throughout. Any restroom that is a single-use facility is also considered a family facility per this policy definition.
So will we have family facilities in there?
No, they
Like
won't have,
ADA
they aren't
compliance?
required to have changing tables or that sort of, I think some will be ADA compliant, but that's just a compliance issue. But they aren't required to have a changing table like the typical, like a family facility you would see in the.
Right.
So we asked, because the revised code just says single,
Right.
so it doesn't have to, the designation of family came from how Neola wrote up the definition. It wasn't saying that you couldn't use the dollars if it's a single-use bathroom.
Explain that to me again, because that's not how I read that.
Okay.
I read that we can't use construction dollars or whatever to construct single-use restrooms. I don't care what kind it is, family,
Yeah,
non-family,
you
whatever.
can't use construction dollars basically you can't use construction dollars to construct a restroom that is a multi-use, multi-sex, so that any sex could use it.
Well,
with
that's
more
what it
than
is
one
in these
seat.
classrooms, like anybody's gonna use that bathroom,
But
kids
it
are gonna
says
use that.
they cannot have more than one toilet or shower in that.
Yeah, and I did speak with Ryan over at Then Design, and he was well aware of the standard and that we're fine with what they're doing.
So the definition of the statute designates these as single use or family. They're both the same, and you can construct single use or family. They would be a family facility that can only have one toilet or shower, but have multiple sexes use it.
So
As a
did you
permit.
run this past Dan?
We did.
So he wrote it according to the requirement of the law?
Yes.
Well, wow, that's a conundrum of terms, I'm just gonna say, like, that is like really, okay, contradictory. It's a multi-use bathroom, single use, but we're allowed to use it because it's only got one toilet. I'm sorry, like, one toilet to me doesn't designate, that's ridiculous.
We
I'm
could,
just-
the teacher could use that restroom if they so choose.
Right.
So could any one of the students, as well as an aide or anyone else, as long as one person is using it at a time.
I just sometimes feel like we construct our policy to fit our needs, but that's not really the meaning of it. I don't know, like that's not how I read that, not at all. I'm just gonna go on record as saying that's not how I read that.
What will be the sign designation outside of these? Like what signs are on the outside of the bathroom? Just says restroom?
Right, my original question wasn't necessarily family restroom, that was not my issue. The issue was single use, and we're still using it as single use. I don't know how we get around that. It's still single use, so I still have a problem with it.
Any further discussion on that? Okay, so as a first reading, then the second reading would be in the next
The rest of
meeting.
the policy, yes.
Okay. And any questions for Dan or whatever, refer that to him and get further clarification if need be.
Will we be able to leave that
You want to leave
policy
it
separate?
We can-
Because
Yep. we
I
can
don't
mark it
believe
separate.
that it's our intent, like I just,
Okay.
yeah, that'd be great, thank you.
Okay, and the ESC-NEO agreement, 2025 to 2027, there is a resolution to approve a primary service agreement with the Educational Service Center of Northeast Ohio per Ohio Revised Code 3313.843 for the 2025 to 2026 and 2026 to 2027 school years. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keeney. And discussion. Last time we spoke about that, you said we were staying with the Western Reserve.
No, I said we were holding off on that decision because of some personal issues with the superintendent's child, so we tabled that one.
What you were saying that it was their billing practices. They were late and not accurate, and they were promising to clear that up.
It was billing practices as well as items of service, and then we were also looking at financial gain and financial comebacks. And
So what changed? Because you haven't mentioned anything to me since our last
I'm sorry
conversation.
that I failed to do that.
So-
What changed?
Have you talked with any of the board members about it?
I believe I have.
And who did you
I
speak
think I
with?
talked to Mrs. Brewster about it. I believe I talked to Mrs. Krasinski as well.
Okay, so I would like some feedback, if there's
Yeah.
any feedback.
I
on-
just, the last,
On the change.
honestly, the last thing I heard was that you had to have some further discussions with the Western Reserve, and I was waiting to hear back, so
Oh, I
when
thought we
did I
did ta-
miss it?
I thought we did talk at the last committee, the last programs meeting as a side note. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I-
well, anyway, so can you just get us up to speed?
Yeah.
Unless somebody else had heard
This-
it.
Well, Ms. Krasinski, do you have anything to add?
Well, let Dr. Tino get us up to speed.
Yeah, why don't you
Okay,
just fill
so-
us
That's
in?
your help.
I thought I did mention at one point, I'm sorry if it was missed, at some point I thought it was mentioned. When we talked to the ESC of Western Reserve, we had a meeting with them where they kind of came in and it was the same services as natural. We talked to the ESC of the NEO. In talking, their service fee is less, they are throwing in some in-kind services as well as part of our agreement. Some services that we pay for that are bringing the cost to be equal to what we
And what would those be?
receive. One is a consultant with Tippy Foley, who is a career-based consultant who we use. We currently employ her at So Many Days, and she's being put in. She's amazing, she's a business advisor.
So we're paying her now, but
We do
then
pay her
we
per
would
day.
not pay her
We
in
would
the
not pay her
future?
in
It would be
kind.
And how much a year is that?
That's about $12,000, maybe 16, I think. I forgot what it was. but
Is
it's
she being
Between 12
paid,
and 13, I think.
12.
she's being paid for by, they're
by-
not
by
gonna
the
make us pay
district.
for it?
No, they're gonna throw it in kind,
Really?
yes.
I know that.
She
the only
doesn't work
thing-
for them now, does she?
She
Yeah.
does work for the NEO, yes.
She does. I remember you saying that their programming for staff is far
So
superior.
yes, the other
That's
things
the
that they
only thing
offer,
I
yes.
remember.
And so when we made the final decision, which again, I thought the final decision came based on the programming that's available for our staff, curriculum-wise, as well as supports through data and where we want to go and where we want to drive. Every time we go to a meeting at the ESC-NEO, whether it's for finance, whether it's for leadership, whether it's for our teachers, we do see a high quality. We gain something from it and it's a value add. We don't necessarily get that same feeling at the Western Reserve.
And in your discussions with them,
It was not an easy discussion.
No.
And I know that's one that wasn't there wasn't easy. My discussions with them really came from, we need to do what's best to move this district forward. And the ESC and NEO will provide us those resources to move this district
So
forward.
you mentioned curriculum. What curriculum do they offer or support do they offer?
They support all of our curriculum. We call them to ask for programming or any type of assistance with reading data with math scores or reading things with, can you provide some programming with trauma-based classrooms? Can you provide programming with this new CPM math? Can they come and provide that? They've got the resources in the districts that will have it. They know where that is, and they can really support us in implementation to help with looking.
And Western Reserve doesn't have that.
They're not as big, so they don't have the resources like they do. I also spoke with other districts who have been with both, and asked them those superintendents' opinions of it, and they said that the services are vastly.
And there's other Lake County schools.
Will be Eastlake switch this year, Mentor is there, as well as
Wickliffe,
Kirtland, Wycliffe,
Chardon,
Chardon.
Geauga County Chardon.
Geauga County,
there,
Chardon,
Kenston,
Kenston,
Okay.
or not Cardinal, Berkshire.
Who's left? Jeez,
Madison.
like nobody.
It's,
It's
yeah, there's,
Who's left is Madison, Terry, Fairport, Painesville City. That's who's left in Lake County. And then Geauga County is just Cardinal and West Geauga, and then Crestwoods also for them.
Okay. All right. And as far as getting the billing straightened out and all those things were good?
they were willing to straighten out the billing with us and work for some of those things. I think when we looked at the NEO, that's what they typically do. The other thing still is our substitutes through NEO. We
Okay.
spend a lot of money through NEO, having our credits go through there.
Okay, so they still, our subbing goes through them?
Through ESC of the NEO, not through Western Reserve.
Oh,
So
okay.
we are
It's
moving
NEO.
all of our services to
Everything
where.
is gonna be.
Yes, we've contracted a lot of services with them as well, and now we're just kind of officially aligning with them.
Okay, so do we have a requirement that we still, through the financing district or whatever, do we have other requirements through Western Reserve?
The Western Reserve works as a fiscal agent for the financing district, but they
That's
still
it.
have to, they still have to provide us.
So we have no other
a finance
fiscal
collection.
responsibilities to,
The financing district boundaries don't change with us aligning with a different ESC.
Okay.
They're still the fiscal agent. The only thing that they could do in the future is decide as a governing board not to put the levy back on the ballot, but then there would be 3 other districts would be affecting us
Yeah.
besides us.
Okay.
We'd still be having services with Western Reserve. There's still services like the when juvenile delinquent billing comes through the county, we'll still go through our ESC. Any special ed services that through Broadmoor, that would still be with Western Reserve. So it's not like there's going to be no services there, just be limited in scope.
but we have brought over Sykes and other services
things
into the
in-house.
We
district.
brought things in-house.
Right.
yes.
And it's common for districts to use multiple ESCs.
Okay,
That's not uncommon.
okay. I guess I just wanted to make sure that we didn't have requirements remaining there that had dollars that had to be spent versus going somewhere else and we're paying twice. We're not. Okay. All right.
Anything else?
I thought I had it in there, I'm sorry.
Thank you for the update. And Gary, can you call the roll?
Linda Grassi,
Aye.
Lori Kniske,
Aye.
Scott Fishel,
Aye.
Dennis Keeney,
Aye.
Denise Brewster.
Aye.
Motion carried. College Credit Plus agreement with Lakeland Community College. Resolution to approve the College Credit Plus partnership agreement with Lakeland Community College for the 2025 to 2026 academic school year. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
This is typically on January or February, just didn't make it to us to get on the board agenda. And Lincoln's like, where's our signed agreement? And it's
For next year.
for next year.
So,
Nothing's really changed.
well, what happens with all the laws that are like sitting out there down in Columbus regarding the textbooks, the type of textbooks they use, who pays for them if you don't have X kind of, right, like the online classrooms and
Right.
open source? That's not in here, right?
Yeah,
How would this change if, like, would we have to get addendums to it if those laws get passed?
I guess it depends on what what's ultimately passed and, yeah. But I don't think it's really not clear to like what textbooks are being provided, so.
It
I would-
speaks to
it's-
textbooks as a whole and not just.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of legislation
There is.
about the open class, open source books. And who pays for what, if what's available and we
I don't
don't
think
use,
I don't
right?
think
Like,
Lakeland uses many open source books. I think they're mostly, we pay for the books.
I know we do,
Yeah.
but that, I think that's what the legislation
They
is
want
like
us to
out
push
there.
towards them. Yeah.
Right, like they want to push them to use open source so that it doesn't cost us quite so much money. We pay a ton
We do.
for a book we never get to keep.
A lot of them are now rentals,
Right.
digital rentals.
So, yeah, I don't know, like when does this take into, this is for next year?
Next year.
I don't know when that legislation would take effect, it's not even voted on yet, I mean, it's probably not even a discussion yet, but.
Typically, it's 90 days after the law is approved unless there's an emergency clause, so you're just, at this point, it's just speculation.
Yeah, okay, well, I'm just gonna keep an eye on that one, because that is an expensive thing for us every year, twice.
Okay, and then did you say that there'll be more classes taught on campus?
One thing we're excited, yes, we're trying to get more classes. We have a kickoff meeting for Lakeland at Riverside.
Okay,
So we're trying to offer in total 31 hours of house credit in-house. And so a lot of those will be, for now, taught by Lakeland professors who travel to us as they work with flexibility in terms of what it takes to be a Lakeland professor. We're hoping to have them taught by our own staff, and that's the ultimate goal. But Lakeland is working through what that looks like to be a.
Right, and we've been working
professor.
towards that now for a
Yeah.
couple of years. so.
Yeah.
So when that happens, does the teacher get a stipend, does Lakeland pay us, does Lakeland pay the teacher, does,
The teacher gets a stipend as a part of it.
from here?
From here, and the college per credit hour is less. Lakeland still gets their take in it.
Gary, can you take the roll?
Lori Kniske,
Aye.
Scott Fishel,
Aye.
Dennis Keeney,
Aye.
Denise Brewster,
aye.
Belinda Grassi.
Aye.
Motion carried. Greater Cleveland Conference Athletic League. Resolution to approve joining the Greater Cleveland Conference Athletic League beginning in the 2026-2027 school year. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on that?
Yeah, who's in GCC?
This is
Mentor?
Mentor, Shaker Heights, Cleveland Heights, Brunswick, was Medina, is now Strongsville, also
Is it Euclid?
Euclid, yeah, those are schools. We are replacing Medina, who's leaving.
Okay, and is there any feedback that we've had from
Mhm.
our
There's a lot.
school community?
There's been some. This is I think what people don't understand is the way that leagues work, and you have to be accepted. We petitioned to join other leagues, and we're not accepted. The GCC is the one that ultimately accepted us with the last bit of local Greater Cleveland schools around us. Other than that, we would be independent.
But you said that we probably would still have
We would still play
non-league
non-league games that are all
with
local.
neighbors?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. This gives our athletes a chance to participate for conference titles and in conference events, which if we were independent, we would not.
It makes it a little bit more comprehensive in the sports program.
We have to step up our game.
And that too, right?
Yes.
Right? A
And
little
this
bit
is
more
for,
competitive.
yeah, this is for all teams,
This is for all teams and 2 years from now.
for 2 years.
It starts in 2 years.
Yes.
Not next school
It
year.
starts in 2
Right.
years.
2 years.
And any out and change in clause would be 2 years. It's a 2-year commitment.
Yeah.
Now, do some of these schools have afternoon games versus evening?
Shaker Heights,
No, the Shaker actually has lights now.
do they have lights now?
They have lights on the
Oh,
field.
sweet.
They all,
You
typically start times are the standard times of the day. I've asked about all those questions, and we're told from other schools that they are all absolutely safe facilities.
Okay.
and great.
I just
We-
wonder,
we
because I
play a
heard
lot of these
some
schools
moved
already.
We
to-
do,
Okay.
we looked at the number of schools that
Yeah.
we play with them, there's a lot of, we've had a lot of challenges with scheduling some of our sports because they're just good and people want to avoid us as independents or not playing us, so. It's, I mean, it's the nature of the
Mhm.
falling apart of the WRC, and we were
Okay.
the league left out.
Gary, can you take the roll?
Scott Fishel,
Aye.
Dennis Keeney,
Aye.
Denise Brewster,
Aye.
Linda Grassi,
Aye.
Lori Kniske.
Aye.
Motion carried. Withdraw from Lake County Schools Council, resolution to withdraw from participation in the Lake County Schools Council Health Care Benefits Program. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I mean, this is a recommendation based on the extensive work we've done with the Health Insurance Optimization Committee. As you know, we've had a 22% increase in rates this year, so we started to look at what's best for Riverside, looking at the data that we have available to us, and even with allowing the flexibility going forward to make those changes and respond more to the market conditions and what we can do in the future. We've come to a conclusion that withdrawing from Lake County Schools Council is our best option. We have to make notice by April 15th with a board-approved resolution, which is why we had tonight's meeting, was the initial reason for for tonight's meeting. So I think we're moving in the right direction. In a future meeting, we'll have the contract with our new consultant we're working with. We're just finalizing some terms with that consultant. So that'll be on the next board agenda.
Now, do you
Yeah.
anticipate any changes in coverage?
It's subject to union negotiations.
Okay.
You know, we're under contract with our teachers union, so we can't offer any benefits of a lower value unless they agree to that. You know, we're up for negotiations for OPSI this coming spring, so there'll be some discussions on what that looks like. And our consultant has some plan design ideas, and then the committee will also talk about those, looking at, you know, taking care of our employees, but also hoping to realize some good savings from this change.
Yeah, I'm anticipating it'll be plan design.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Can you take the roll, please?
Dennis Keeney,
Aye.
Denise Brewster,
Aye.
Linda Grassi,
Aye.
Lori Kniske,
Aye.
Scott Fishel.
Aye. Motion carried. Adjourn to executive session. Make a motion to adjourn to executive session at 5:52. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Do we need to read the full motion there?
We should just need to announce that it's for employment of public officials.
Okay, I'll read it. Be it resolved that the Riverside Local School District Board of Education hereby adjourns to executive session 5:52 PM to discuss personnel matters relating to the employment of public officials, and the Riverside Local School District Board of Education hereby designates all matters discussed in this executive session as strictly confidential, and finds that this designation is warranted because of the status of these matters and the need to preserve confidentiality to properly conduct the business of this Board of Education. And can I got the second? Can you take the roll?
Denise Brewster,
Aye.
Linda Grassi,
Aye.
Lori Kniske,
Aye.
Scott Fishel,
Aye.
Dennis Keeney.
Aye.
Motion carried. And we are now in executive